So there's a new 2-player version of a pretty popular game, Azul Duel. Thank you for joining us here at Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Melissa Delp.
And I'm Kevin Delp. Today we're talking about a new game in the Azul line called Azul Duel. It's from Next Move Games, a division of Asmodee.
It's a standalone 2-player version of Azul designed for direct competition. It's a tile drafting, pattern building game that takes about 30 minutes to play.
In today's video, we'll give you a brief overview of the game, then discuss our critiques and accommodations of the game. So let's dive in. The game is played over 5 rounds. Each round consists of 3 phases: the acquisition phase, the scoring phase, and the preparation phase to help you get ready for the next round.
Most of the gameplay happens during phase 1, the acquisition phase. Players take turns drafting tiles from a shared market and placing them on their individual boards. This will feel pretty similar to the original Azul game, but with a slight twist.
When you take a tile, or tiles, from the sun side of the disc, you stack the remaining tiles onto the moon side in any order you choose. When you take a tile from the moon side, you also take any matching tiles from the tops of other moon stacks.
Instead of taking tiles on your turn, you could take a dome plate. You need dome plates on your board to move tiles onto after you complete a row.
Or, on your turn, you could take a revealed bonus chip.
During the scoring phase, you'll move the tiles and score like you normally do in Azul. But you have to have an available matching space to place your tile. At the end of the game, you gain points based on the goal tiles.
All right, I think we're ready to move on to our critiques and accommodations. Critiques first. I think the player boards, the quality is kind of lacking. I mean, you could have thicker board, like cardboard player boards, or even dual layered player boards. I mean, the acrylic tiles are really nice. Usually Azul does a pretty good job on these kinds of components, so I think they should have it in their budget to add a good player board so things aren't sliding around and just the flimsy quality of them.
Yeah, I guess since they have to fold because it's a small box, I don't know.
Just do 2 of them and they could interlock.
Ooh, that would be cool. I also was slightly annoyed that the tower, it's kind of like a really thin cardboard, almost paper tower, doesn't fit back in the box assembled, so you have to make it each time. Now, it's just a fold.
Right, thing. I don't even know if the original Azul even had a tower. So I think you just threw those tiles in a box. So
yeah,
tried.
And I know some of them have towers, and I can't remember if they fit in the box or not, or if you have to flatten them as well. So one of my critiques is I think this version could lead to a little bit more AP because you do have, I think, more choices in this game. You have the dome tiles that you have to select from the board because there's nothing on your board. So you're selecting those and you can put them in any empty space and you can rotate them. So there's lots of decisions just with that aspect of where you want the colors to line up. And then there's also the stacking of the tokens once you move them to the moon side and determining what order to put them in and trying to do it so it's best for you but not the other player.
At least you're only looking at one other player board.
True. There's only one other player that you're competing against. But I do find for myself, I sometimes can't think far enough ahead to be like, if I take this, he'll have to take this, which means I'll get this. So it requires a little bit more thinking on that.
And based on that, I think there's a little bit of take that in the game. Maybe a little bit more than the original Azul because of that tile stacking. You could look at the other player and be like, oh, they really need a yellow. I'm going to stack the yellow at the bottom or in the middle so they can't get to it right away. And basically force them to maybe take another tile so that I could take a tile that they actually want.
Yeah,
which I think actually happened in our last game.
Yeah, I think you're better at thinking through the scenarios to make that happen than I am. So my other critique, and I know this is a feature of the game. It's not a bug. So I'm not saying the game shouldn't have this, but I often got stuck with the negative points because there's the...
Which actually really mattered in the last game.
Yeah. So, there's the first player, which is nice to be first player, but there were a few times that I had to take it not because I wanted the tiles, but it was the only move left because Kevin was doing other things, so it kind of forced me to take that. I think
took, in that last game we played, I think I only took the first player marker once.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, a few times I chose it because I needed the stuff, but other times I was trying not to get it, and the way it worked out.
Maybe I wish, especially in the 2-player game, I wish there's a little bit more benefit. I know you're getting negative points, but what if there's a little bit more benefit of taking that first player marker? I don't know.
I mean, you do get first choice the next round. There's another place where you can get negative points, and that is the dome tiles. There are only 3 on the board that are face up, and if all of those are gone, then you would have to go to the face down stack, which is negative points to go through.
Yeah, you're losing points in order to go through that. And you could spend...
Yeah, I do think it's an interesting aspect to that. You can spend as many negative points as you want to draw tiles. So if I want to draw 3, I would spend 3 points. I get to look at those 3. I still only select 1, but it gives you more choices if there's a specific color or arrangement that you're looking for.
Never done that, but maybe it would be good. I mean, our last game was 1 point difference. So I'm like, you're so really close. Spending. You have to be really careful on points you're spending.
Yeah, I probably spent or lost
10 points easily.
Yeah, a lot of points.
Easily.
All right, so are we ready to go to our accommodations?
Let's do it. So I've already described components I didn't like earlier in the video. The ones I do like, those tiles, the circle tiles, that I don't know if they're acrylic. I don't know the component, what it's made of, but the other Azul games sort of have that quality. Right. And I really like those. They're colorful. Some of them have cool designs on them. I think that works really good. And this one comes with a nice drawstring bag. I just wish that the game, had all those beautiful components.
It's like some of them are really nice, and then some of them are like...
Yeah, so anyway, good job on the ones that are good.
So to piggyback off of something in the critiques, where I was saying that sometimes there can be a little bit of AP with the stacking of tokens. I do actually like that aspect of the game where you get to choose the order that you stack them in, because I think it does add a strategic element to the game where you have a little bit more choice. So even though it makes me think a little bit more, I do like that you have that aspect and have a little bit more control, I think, than some of the other Azul games.
Now, even though this is a 2-player game, I mean, I know you have Azul that has other, like, multiplayer, but this is made for 2 players. It doesn't really have that sort of feeling of a 2-player game in the sense that a lot of 2-player games are basically attacking the other player, tear down the other player, destroy the other player. And I mean, I would say a majority of 2-player games are like that. Now, there are a few games that we actually played recently that don't have that, and I think Azul does that well. It's not about tearing the other person down. It's you're both building something. You have, you're adding to your own boards. You might be denying the other person, things like that. But I like that you're building something up, and at the end you have this cool creation that you both made, and you can look at that. So,
yeah. I like the bonus tiles in the game. So the bonus tiles give you some flexibility to finish rows. You have to have 2 halves of the same color, or you can use any 3 to take the place of a missing tile. One thing to remember, though, is that you have to have at least 1 real token in that row. So you can't use it for like the little single at top or to replace all of them. So it gives you other options. If the colors you need aren't out there that round, you might be able to still complete your goals with the bonus tiles.
I like the dome plates in the game. I think it adds variety to this 2-player game and something different to the Azul experience. You have sort of 2 different kinds of dome plates. One is called like a special plate where there's 3 colored circles, and once you fill in those 3 colored circles, there's a 4th sort of
special tile.
Special tile that you basically immediately get to place on that dome plate. So it's almost like an automatically fills in, which is really cool. And then there's other kinds of dome plates, which are like Joker tiles. So it still has 3 that are certain colors, but the 4th one is, I don't want to say wild, but basically you can choose any color to be placed in that. I think it's actually called a Joker spot. So I think that's cool. That it adds the variety of not only those two, but also how am I going to arrange my dome plate on my board? Where am I going to place my dome plate on my board? Oh, I've already started filling in this row with a certain color. I better go find a dome plate that has that color.
Right.
Definitely things like that. I approve of the dome plates.
Yeah, I like variability and variety in games, and this one does have it with the goal tiles for the end of the game scoring. You have, I think, about 4 to choose from, and it says you can have 3 or 4 in your game. Some of them are like the original Azul, so you get points for filling in a row or column. But then there are a lot of other things. There are where their placements, so on the outer edge, or filling in dome plates in certain corners, which could be really hard. And
making sure your jokers are filled in.
Yes, some of them deal with those special tiles, getting points for the jokers filled in, but if you have any of them empty, you don't score anything. And then there's even a negative one where those special spots are not filled in, they're negative points. So adding those into the game makes the dome plates even more strategic of which ones you're going for. Oh, I don't want to put a joker in this bottom row because I'll never finish it.
Never finish it.
And then it'll make all my others, not worth anything. So definitely variety in the games and the scoring if you use the different goal tiles.
Great. Well, let's move on to our conclusions.
So I enjoy the Azul games. I would say that Summer Pavilion is my favorite. I will give the caveat, though, that I have not played Queen's Garden. Okay. But of the first 3, I enjoy Summer Pavilion the most. But I would say we normally play 3 and 4 players. So we're playing multiplayer usually. If I had to choose a version to play 2-player, I think I would choose this one over the others because of the head-to-head design in this one. I think if you're playing 2 players, you have more control and a little bit more strategy in this version than if you're just playing regular Azul at 2 players.
Cool. I think Azul Duel has that same satisfying feel that you get in the other Azul games, but it adds some more direct interaction with your opponent. And I feel that there's a little bit more, some tense moments, which I enjoy that. It's like, oh, what's Melissa going to do?
I'm trying to force you to take this. Is it going to work?
Yeah, so I feel that is brought out well in this 2-player version of Azul. I think if you enjoy 2-player games and you're looking for an Azul sort of version of that, I think you should check out Azul Duel. And as always, please like, subscribe, and check back more at Tantrum House for more board game content coming soon.
And let us know in the comments what your favorite Azul game is.